Welcome to episode 124 of the Scarlet Faithful podcast, coming to you on Tuesday, August 1st. The month of August is here. Training camp for Rutgers football begins on Thursday, August 3rd. I wanted to take the next two episodes, barring any breaking news, and focus on players that I'm looking at as potential, whether it's a breakout player or just a consistent contributor that they didn't have the season before that can help move this team forward and help Rutgers football get over the hump, get to 6 wins, get to a bowl game. Starting with the offense today, I want to kind of go position group by position group and focus on some players that I'm really optimistic on and I think could play much bigger roles this coming year. So obviously quarterback, listen, we've talked about Gavin Wimsat. It's a chance for him to fulfill his potential, right? As a 4-star recruit, top 100 recruit. He's got a real opportunity. I think it's the best situation for him at Rutgers since he's been here under Shiraka. I think Shiraka is worked really hard to tailor things to get the most out of him, just in terms of, what I like about Shiraka's approach is talking about how he wants the quarterback to think like him on the field, to really go through the mindset. It's not just about reading the defense, but having a very detailed thought process that almost becomes instinctual for them to be able to react in a way that they can adjust to things that happen on the field. And I think I think feel for the game is something that Wimsat has not had. As much as accuracy has been an issue, as much as mobility with his injury was an issue, I think that he hasn't really had a great feel. And I think part of that has been the offensive line, a lack of consistent running game, all of those things, instability with the offensive coordinator and, the way he kind of got worked in at the end of the 2 years ago. And then obviously, he got hurt. He didn't really get a chance to start with Gleason as the offensive coordinator. And then he comes in, he's got a brand new coordinator. I know fans are maybe losing patience. Some fans, I should say. But I think that he has been through a lot. And I'm really excited to see what he can do now in a stable situation with a coach that's a veteran coach that has worked with a lot of quarterbacks, mentored a lot, I got the most out of a lot. Most recent example, Tanner Morgan at Minnesota. So, and again, Wimsat's not going to be tasked with winning games with his arm, right? He's going to be more of a manager. And I think obviously his ability to make reads early and get, quick, short passes, be accurate, but have poise and have feel for the game. I think that's really going to be the key for his success. Talking about running back, I mean, it's pretty established in terms of the depth at running back. Obviously, St. Brown, I mean, he's only going to be a true sophomore, right? He only played a handful of games last year, but we saw his massive potential. I know I wrote about the most indispensable players, in my opinion, for Rutgers this year. I listed Sam Brown as number 1. I put Holland Pierce number 2. Wimsat was number 3 for me. Aaron Lewis was number 4, and Max Melt was number 5. So I have an article on the Scarlet Faithful right now discussing that. But I really believe that. I think that, yes, you need Wimsat's going to have to, have success through the air to open up things. But I think it's all going to be dictated by the run. I think that's what Rutgers wants to do. That's the style that Shiraka has implemented at Minnesota and been successful at with. I think that's what Shiano wants, to be able to dictate things off the ground, control the clock, control the game, sustain drives. You're going to have to make throws at some point for sure. I think Wimsat's ability to use his legs is going to help and will also help Brown in terms of being able to, throw another look at defenses. But you have Brown. I think you have Aaron Young. I'm excited about coming back healthy. If he could stay healthy, I think he can be a big factor in the short pass game. Really think so, that he could bring an element to the offense that's been missing. And he's shown flashes. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy. Kyle Monungai has been had moments, the BC game last year, the Michigan State game. If he is kind of a change of pace back with Brown, I think, I don't know if I agree with the thought that some fans have that Brown, was overused and that's why he got hurt. But I do think that mixing Monangai in with Brown a little bit more would be beneficial. I think, again, you're giving defenses different things to think about. And I think that they have different skill sets, and I think Monangai has a lot to offer. So I think that trio of backs are really exciting. Al-Shadi Salam, someone that, could be a burst of speed, and flashes here and there. We know Rashad Rochelle was used as a back at times last year. I don't think that's going to happen. He's more of a slot receiver now. One wild card I'll throw out there at running back in terms of someone that could emerge in some type of role is Jashawn Benjamin, freshman out of Florida. He's a speedy, small guy, 5'9", which is similar to Monangai and Salam. But I think he's someone that definitely, long term, I'm excited about as well. But, who knows how things roll in camp and, injuries and all that. I mean, he is someone that could end up playing a role this year. But I think running back is more of a veteran group. Wimsat, we know what he has to do and what he is. It's really offensive line, tight end, and wide receivers where there's a lot of opportunity for new contributors to step up. Let's start with the offensive line. We need the offensive line to take a step forward. You essentially have 3 full-time starters back. You have Holland Pierce, obviously, was started the last 2 seasons, 24 games at right tackle. He's moving to left tackle, which makes a lot of sense, protecting Wimsat's blind side. And also, I think can be a real key in the run game. So having him at left tackle opens up right tackle. So Tyler Needham is someone that I've been hearing a lot about, that had a good spring. Shiano raved about. Seems to be, I would say, if you could say there's a favorite going into camp, someone that has an opportunity to grab that right tackle spot. The offensive line needs stability, and how many years have we seen where, they have 8 guys for 5 spots? That's not, you want depth, of course, but you don't want to have a rotation, game to game, series to series. It's not ideal. So listen, if Needham can step up and become the guy at right tackle, that would be a huge development for the offense this year and really give Rutgers stability on either side of the line. That would be huge. And then you have Curtis Dunlop back at right guard, and you have Ireland Brown at center. So those 2 guys start a lot of games. Dunlap's mobility was challenged at time. I think Brown is a good story, converting from the defense. I think he's, commendable for what he's done. I think he's solid at center. I'm not sure how much growth we'll see out of him, but if he could just be steady and solid like he was last year, I think that'll be a positive. So the question is, can Needham assume right tackle? Probably Kamara Missouri, his biggest competition. And then you have the left guard, right? So you had last season was a little bit of a battle. You have Mike Schiaffoni, who could win that job. You have, but someone that I'm super excited about that started the last 3 games as a true freshman out of Pickering, Ohio, is Kwabena Asamoah. Big kid. He has a little bit of mobility issues himself, but, he's strong. And we all want Rutgers to get to the point where they're a program with the offensive line. They're not throwing kids into the fire as freshmen, even 2-year kids. I mean, you really want, if your program is clicking, you want your offensive line really 3rd year minimum, your top tier guys, 3rd year really becoming the starters, to have 2 years to mature. And it's rare that you have an Anthony Davis, right? 5-star guy that comes in and can be a multi-year starter right off the bat. And obviously that hasn't happened at Rutgers in a long time. Holland Pierce has kind of become that. But, it wasn't by choice. I don't think that that's what the staff wanted to do. They wanted to give him more time, but it was kind of forced hand. But he has done a really good job of growing and developing as well. And I think he could take a big step forward this year. But in terms of Asamoah, I think he is the guy on the line that could really take a leap in terms of his development. Can he build off those 3 starts at the end of last year? He didn't start until Michigan State in November. So to be thrown in the fire at the end of the year and respond well, he's got raw talent. He's got the size. I think he's someone that, long-term is going to develop into a very, very good player. And I'm really curious to see if he could take advantage of the opportunity. I mean, Ciafone is a little bit more veteran. I mean, he's played at spots too. Nothing against him, but I think that Asamoah has a higher ceiling, and I would so really curious to see what can happen there. Offensive line, it's easy to say I'm optimistic on August 1st, but I think that I'm optimistic to the point where five guys have to grab the roles, right? And they have to be consistent. And can that happen? So I think I don't want to, I'm not going to focus on can 8 guys, provide enough depth. Like they need 5 guys to assume the positions and to stay healthy and to really gel as a unit. Can they hit the ground running in September so Rutgers can win the games that they can win that are winnable games on the schedule? And can they hold up in late October and November when the schedule gets harder, when the weather gets colder, when the ground gets harder, when Rutgers really needs to have a run game? Can they come through? And I think you do that if you have 5 guys that can build a rapport and grow together as the season goes on. Tight ends a position group I'm really excited about. You obviously have Johnny Langham back. I know he's a warrior. He's battled injuries throughout his career. I'm interested to see what, the offensive staff has been able to do with him. Does he develop a little bit more? Is he kind of the steady, good hands receiver that can make a catch or two that wows you, but is still kind of, looking like a football player as a tight end? And that is not an insult by any means. He is truly a football player, but can he be a little more refined as a tight end? I think that will be interesting to see. Sean Bowman, tight end out of Maine, all conference player. Obviously, the staff's familiar with him. If you look at his film, I mean, he's a tight end that can run 15 yards down the middle of the field, and he can run after the catch. So he could really emerge as a weapon. I think he is a guy that certainly could provide a safety valve for Wimsat and provide some big play results in the pass game, where you're not asking Wimsat to throw the ball 25, 30 yards down the field. You're asking him to quick hits, 10-yard routes that Bowman can then take off. Can he do that? He has the potential to. And I think physically, he looks the part. Even though he's an FCS player, career FCS player, this is his last year, he looks the part as a Big Ten tight end. He's a big guy, strong, good hands, good route runner. I'm really excited to see what he can do. And how does that help Langan? If 2 tight end sets, I mean, does that take some pressure off of him a little bit and open things up for him? And then you have 2 guys that, the Victor Konopka has been hurt. He missed, I think, 9 games last year. I think he's 6'5". He was a really strong kid. Wasn't highly recruited, but has shown, flashes here and there. I think he can really develop as a blocker. And I think they're going to rotate a lot on the tight ends. I think that Shiraka uses the tight ends quite a bit. I think you're going to see 2 tight end sets. And I think all 4 of these guys are going to get runs. Mike Higgins included, who a lot of people in the program are high on. Just his second year, but he's shown some promise. He looked good in the spring. I think it's a promising tight end group. And I think it's promising to a degree also because we know they're going to be used. They're going to have an opportunity. And I think that position has not had much of an opportunity in recent years. So I'm excited to see what that group can do. And then, of course, you have wide receiver. You lost your top 3 producers in Sean Ryan, in Shameen Jones, and Aaron Cruikshank. Listen, their production wasn't out of this world. It was about 50% of what the passing attack was for Rutgers, which, again, wasn't much overall in the grand scheme of things. But, I liked all 3, and they all had their moments, and they all provided some level of reliability where you really don't have that going into the season. That doesn't mean, I think this group's ceiling, actually, to be honest, could be higher. Jaquay Jackson, Nassim Brantley, Chris Long. Chris Long is someone that I think because of the 2 transfers coming in, and it's been kind of widely assumed they're going to be the top 2 receivers. I would love for that to happen, but I would not be so sure. I think Chris Long, he did have a level of consistency last year. He caught a pass in 11 games in a row. And again, he wasn't putting together 2, 3, 4, 5 catch games, but just having enough consistency in his real first season of action, consistent action, getting a catch every game, there is a certain level of establishment there in terms of comfortability and reliability that I think he can build on. And he made some phenomenal catches at points last year. He's got talent, and he's had the advantage of working with Wimsat quite a bit over the last couple of years. So I really think he could develop. I think he could become the number one receiver. Obviously, Ja'Quay Jackson, Division II All American. Nassim Brantley, I think, could be a really, I don't think these guys are going to be asked to make huge plays in the passing game in terms of going deep. I think they all will have the opportunity to make big plays after the catch. Can they break tackles at the Big Ten level? Can they get separation at the Big Ten level? Can they catch hard passes in tight spaces? Those are all questions that have to be answered. Again, I think this group could be better than last year, but they definitely are not as proven or reliable. Again, they're not replacing, an all-pro group, but I really liked the group last year, and I thought that they actually, if the offense was in a better place, I think they could have had more production than they had. So I'm looking at Chris Long as being kind of a sleeper to be the number one. Obviously, we want Jackson and Brantley to step up and be able to hit the ground running as non-FBS players. Can they make plays right off the bat? Again, separation has been an issue for Rutgers receivers for years and years and years. And that's going to be the key. I think they've added speed. I think they have some intriguing freshmen that are there. I don't know, listen, how fair is it even to think that that's going to happen in terms of freshmen having much of a chance next year? I don't know if that's something that's realistic. But you have Devon Fuse from Pennsylvania, Jesse O'Fury, Ian Strong, and then also you have Fama Teray. These are speed guys. These are bigger guys, 6'3". Listen, I think camp's gonna be fascinating. Wide receiver is probably the most fascinating position battle to follow, because I think a lot of different things could happen. I think a lot of different players could emerge. So that's kind of my thoughts on players that can step up this year. Rutgers obviously needs as many as possible to step up, but there's a lot of intrigue with the offense. I do think there's more talent. I think there's more speed. I think the coaching is upgraded. Obviously, we need Wimsat to develop. Obviously, the offensive line needs to gel. Obviously, Brown needs to stay healthy and consistent. And you need some. You're not going to throw the ball for 300 yards a game, but they have to make the pass plays. They don't have to have these huge pass plays, but they have to have them in the right moments, and they have to when they need to complete big passes, meaning 3rd and 9 to extend a drive. Who's going to be the guy that they go to? Is it Bowman? Is it Jackson and Brantley? Is it Long? I didn't really talk about Rochelle or Dremel slot. They have a chance. Isaiah Washington, has actually the most receptions back. He's been inconsistent throughout his career, but maybe he figures it out this year. So I'm excited. 2 days out from training camp. We'll do the defense tomorrow. I'll have plenty more preview coverage on the ScarletFaithful.com and all other sports as well. There's a lot going on, and we're going to hit the ground running. So thank you for listening and watching once again.